Dwarves, elves, and hobbits, oh my! It's time once again to return to Middle-earth. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug.
I found something in the Goblin tunnels.
What did you find?
My courage.
Good. You'll need it.
Dragonfire and ruin.
That is what you will bring upon us. He cannot see beyond his own desire.
As anyone who watches this channel regularly can attest, I'm a big fan of world building. Along with George Lucas, James Cameron, and in light of multiple Harry Potter directors J.K. Rowling, Peter Jackson is definitely one of the rare few who has succeeded in not just creating a beloved film franchise, but a cinematic universe where moviegoers can lose themselves. That's the crucial element, not just selling what's on screen, but the idea that more exists off screen. And now, as studios focus the majority of their efforts on blockbuster films, they mine that depth to expand these franchises and their coffers. We're getting Star Wars Episode 7 in 2015, 3 more Avatar films are planned, and after 8 Harry Potter films, we're getting a spin-off with Fantastic Beasts. However, as Jackson launched his new Hobbit trilogy last year, it wasn't amid universal praise. Many wondered how he could turn a single short novel into 3 three-hour films, and when An Unexpected Journey hit theaters, it was the butt of several jokes. SNL had a hilarious running gag during Jennifer Lawrence's January 20th episode, and Seth MacFarlane tweeted that the film's dinner party was the length of an actual dinner party. But that didn't keep the first Hobbit from joining the $1 billion club, thanks to a very strong performance overseas. Domestically, though, it was the lowest grossing of the franchise. However, Hollywood doesn't care about asterisks, just the bottom line. And The Desolation of Smaug, and most likely There and Back Again, are also expected to join the $1 billion club, especially since they're released in IMAX 3D. But in this story, are Jackson and Warner Brothers our band of dwarves fighting for the honor of their people? Or Smaug hoarding a treasure that will never be great enough to satisfy them? I just got back from the 1:05 p.m. showing of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. And when I went in the theater, it was light outside, and now it's pitch black because it's a very long movie. But the question is, does it feel like a long movie? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. But I still had a fantastic time, and when the movie was over, I just wanted to sit there and watch it all over again. And that's because Peter Jackson succeeds at doing something very special, something very unique, and that's bringing to life the very detailed, ornate illustrations from everyone's favorite fantasy novels as a kid. For many, it was Lord of the Rings. For myself, it was the King Arthur legends. And as I say that right now, I wish that Peter Jackson, perhaps for his next project or some other filmmaker of that caliber, would perhaps take this new technology and apply it to bringing the Arthurian legends to life. I think that would be phenomenal. And so that's something I really enjoyed about this movie. And it's very much of a visual experience. You want to see it on a big screen, and definitely in 3D. I thought the 3D, while not like, really in your face or cheesy, it still brought a lot to the film, particularly because you want to feel like you're in Middle-earth. You want to feel like you're in the battle scenes. And I thought it utilized it that well. You really want to get into the film, and I think that's important. And speaking of paraphernalia from the movie theater, got my cup. It's got elves on it. I love elves so much. Everybody has their favorite group from Middle-earth. Mine are the elves, and I thought their inclusion in the film made it infinitely better, at least for me. I loved the new character that Evangeline Lilly plays, and I thought that Orlando Bloom here was really good. Of course, this is the role that originally made him a household name, and I think that he has some of his best scenes from the franchise in this movie. Really good. And a lot of these scenes that are so great with the elves in them are action sequences. Some very good action sequences in this movie, particularly at the beginning. And a lot of the action sequences here, something that was very interesting about them was they felt like theme park rides, almost intentionally so. And while I was watching the film, I thought, hey, maybe Warner Brothers wants to build a Middle-earth theme park. And if so, I want to go to there. Now, speaking of the special effects, not only do they enhance the action sequences, but there was a lot of different heights in this film. In the first Hobbit film, Hobbits and dwarves are basically the same size. But now you have humans in the mix, elves, some other characters that I don't want to give away, but they're able to, in wide shots, convincingly have these different heights. And that was really fun to see them pull that off. However, I will say, though, that sometimes Peter Jackson still reached a little too far with special effects. They couldn't quite back him up, and a character would move a certain way, sometimes during those action sequences. Because even though I can suspend disbelief, and I know they're magical creatures or they have superpowers because they're elves or whatever, you still have to kind of follow physics, and something will just jolt you out of it because you're like, you can't bend that way, or you can't like kind of like glide in over the air because your character can't fly. So it's just kind of bizarre. And also, because of some of those odd movements, at times you feel like you're watching a video game, action sequences in like a cinematic in a video game, albeit a very high quality video game, but still, it takes you out of it just a little bit. So why did the movie feel a little bit long? Because it seems that I loved it, right? I did love it. But the only problem is that I'd say 2/3 in, the film gets a little lost, kind of like the dwarves in the Dark Forest. It just, it loses its way, and I think that's a danger of making these epic films, because it's a very thin line between rushing the film and then also maybe taking too long. But I have to say, between the two, I would definitely rather take too long than have the story rushed. So I'm happy with the way things are. Also, it's kind of like when you want to go somewhere really far away, it better be worth, like the trip. I don't want to go to Middle Earth for like just an hour. I want to go for 3 hours. So to fix this, I wouldn't say edit the film down. I would say inject more story. And this is an interesting thing where there are very few B storylines. I guess they're trying to keep it simple so you can remember what's happening year to year. I still have a little bit of a problem with that. I did with the first Lord of the Rings films too. I went every time, but I'd often be like, I have no idea. I have the general idea of what's good and what's bad, but some of the specifics are lost on me. And I think that, I still think that the adaptations rely a little too heavily on people having knowledge of the books. You shouldn't have to do homework to enjoy a movie. You should just be able to go in, blind and have a great time. But still, I did have a great time. I really loved it. And by the way, those Smaug scenes were pretty damn epic. If you want details, you ought to watch my spoiler review right now.